Good evening. I did finish eating. I forgot to put my video public. Yes, so I forgot to put my video public. So let's read Boeing 7478. It's 8 p.m. So I start to get tired. The zoom is on. Feeding my screen. Yes. So that's my final reading for tonight. I have to check my cell phone. Nothing. So let's read. I will make a video in my Danish language later.
Boeing 747-8. The Boeing 747-8 is the final series of the large, long-range wide-body airliners in the Boeing 747 family from Boeing commercial airplanes. The 747-8 is the largest variant of the 747 and Boeing's largest aircraft. After introducing the 747-400, Boeing considered larger 747 versions as alternatives to the proposed double-deck Airbus A3XX, later developed as the Airbus A380. The stretched 747 Advanced was launched as the 747-8 on the 14th of November, 2005, for a market forecast of 300 aircraft. The first 747-8F freighter performed its maiden flight on the 8th of February, 2010, and the passenger 747-8I Intercontinental followed suit on the 20th of March, 2011. The cargo version was first delivered in October 2011 and the airliner began commercial service in June 2012. Its fuselage is stretched by 18 feet, 5.5 m, to 250 feet, 76 m, making it the longest airliner until the 777X, which first flew in 2020. While keeping its basic structure and sweep, the wing is thicker and deeper, holding more fuel, and wider with raked wingtips. Powered more efficiently than preceding 747s by a smaller version of the General Electric GX turbofan from the 787 Dreamliner, its maximum takeoff weight, grew to 975,000 pounds, 442 t, the heaviest Boeing airliner. The freighter version has a shorter upper deck and can hold 308,000 pounds, 140 t, over 4,120 nautical miles, mi, 7,630 kilometers, 4,740 mi. The intercontinental version can carry 467 passengers in a typical 3-class configuration over 7,790 nautical miles, 14,430 kilometers, 8,960 mi. A total of 155 aircraft were built, including 107 freighters and 48 passenger airliners. The final aircraft, a 747-8F, was delivered to Atlas Aero. Boeing 747-8. The Boeing 747-8 is the final series of the large, long-range wide-body airliners in the Boeing 747 family from Boeing Commercial Airplanes. The 747-8 is the largest variant of the 747 and Boeing's largest aircraft. After introducing the 747-400, Boeing considered larger 747 versions as alternatives to the proposed double-deck Airbus A3XX, later developed as the Airbus A380. The stretched 747 Advanced was launched as the 747-8 on the 14th of November, 2005, for a market forecast of 300 aircraft. The first 747-8F freighter performed its maiden flight on the 8th of February, 2010, and the passenger 747-8I Intercontinental followed suit on the 20th of March, 2011. The cargo version was first delivered in October, 2011, and the airliner began commercial service in June, 2012. Its fuselage is stretched by 18 feet, 5.5 m, to 250 feet, 76 m, making it the longest airliner until the 777X, which first flew in 2020. While keeping its basic structure and sweep, the wing is thicker and deeper, holding more fuel, and wider with raked wingtips. Powered more efficiently than preceding 747s by a smaller version of the General Electric GX turbofan from the 787 Dreamliner, its maximum takeoff weight, MTO, grew to 975,000 pounds, 442 t, the heaviest Boeing airliner. The freighter version has a shorter upper deck and can hold 308,000 pounds. 140 t, over 4,120 nautical miles, mi, 7,630 kilometers, 4,740 mi. The intercontinental version can carry 467 passengers in a typical 3-class configuration over 7,790 nautical miles, 14,430 kilometers, 8,960 mi. A total of 155 aircraft were built, including 107 freighters and 48 passenger airliners. The final aircraft, a 747-8F, was delivered to Atlas Air on the 31st of January, 2023. Development, edit. Background, edit. Main article, Boeing 747. Boeing had considered larger capacity versions of the 747 several times during the 1990s, such as the Boeing New Large Airplane, and 2000s. The 747-500X and -600X, announced at the 1996 Farnborough Air Show, would have stretched the 747, but they did not attract enough interest to enter development. At the same air show, a hypothetical wider-bodied 747-700X was described by a Boeing spokesperson as being possible, but inconsistent with the future requirements identified by the company. In 2000, Boeing offered the 747X and 747X stretch derivatives as alternatives to the Airbus A3XX. This was a more modest proposal than the previous 500X and 600X. The 747X would increase the 747's wingspan to 229 feet, 69.8 m, by adding a segment at the root. The 747X was to carry 430 passengers up to 8,700 mi, 16,100 kilometers, 10,000 mi. The 747X stretch would be extended to 263 feet, 80.2 m, long, allowing it to carry 500 passengers up to 7,800 mi, 14,400 kilometers, 9,000 mi. However, the 747X family was unable to attract enough interest to enter production. Some of the ideas developed for the 747X were used on the 747-400. After the 747X program, Boeing continued to study improvements to the 747. The 747-400X QLR, quiet long range, was meant to have an increased range of 8,056 mi, 14,920 kilometers, 9,271 mi, with better fuel efficiency and reduced noise. Changes studied included raked wingtips similar to those used on the 767-400 and a sawtooth engine nacelle for noise reduction. Although the 747-400X QLR did not move to production, many of its features were used for the proposed 747 Advanced. In early 2004, Boeing announced tentative plans for the 747 Advanced that were eventually adopted. Similar in nature to the 747X, the stretched 747 Advanced used technology from the Boeing 787 Dreamliner to modernize the design and its systems. In 2005, Boeing forecast a market for 300 aircraft, split evenly between freighters and passenger variants. Design effort, edit. On the 14th of November, 2005, Boeing announced the launching of the 747 Advanced as the Boeing 747-8. The 747-8 was the first lengthened 747 to go into production and the second 747 version with a fuselage of modified length after the shortened 747 SP. The 747-8 was intended to use the same engine and cockpit technology as that of the 787, including the General Electric GEnx turbofan and fly-by-wire ailerons and spoilers. In 2006, Boeing said that the new design would be quieter, more economical and more environmentally friendly than previous versions of the 747. As a derivative of the already common 747-400, the 747-8 has the economic benefit of similar training and interchangeable parts. Boeing firmed the 747-8 freighter's configuration in October 2006. The 747-8, as a new development of Boeing's largest airliner, is notably in direct competition on long-haul routes with the Airbus A380, a full-length double-deck aircraft introduced in 2007. For airlines seeking very large passenger airliners, the two have been pitched as competitors on various occasions. Boeing states that the 747-8 is more than 10% lighter per seat and consumes 11% less fuel per passenger than the A380, translating into a trip cost reduction of 21% and a seat mile cost reduction of over 6%. Production of the first 747-8 freighter began in Everett in early August 2008. On the 14th of November 2008, Boeing announced a delay to the 747-8 program, citing limited availability of engineering resources within Boeing, design changes and the recent strike by factory workers. In February 2009, only one airline customer, Lufthansa, had ordered the 747-8i passenger model, and Boeing announced that it was reassessing the 747-8 project. Chief Executive Jim McNerney stated that continuation of the project was not a foregone conclusion, and that the company was assessing various options. On the 21st of July 2009, Boeing released a photograph of the first cargo airplane, its fuselage and main wing assembled. In October 2009, Boeing announced that it had delayed the first flight on the 747-8 until the first quarter of 2010 and delayed 747-8i delivery. The company took a US $1 billion charge against its earnings for this delay. In response, launch customer Cargolux stated it still intended to take delivery of the 13 freighters it had ordered. Lufthansa confirmed its commitment to the passenger version. On the 12th of November 2009, Boeing announced that Cargolux's first airplane was fully assembled and entering the Everett plant's paint shop. It was to undergo flight testing prior to delivery. On the 4th of December 2009, Korean Air became the second airline customer for the 8i passenger model, with an order for 5 airliners. On the 8th of January 2010, Guggenheim Aviation Partners, GAP, announced the reduction of its 8F order from 4 to 2 aircraft. In March 2011, Korean Air converted options into a firm order for 2 additional 8 freighters. It received its first -8i in late August 2015. Flight testing and certification, edit. The 747-8's first engine runs were completed in December 2009. Boeing announced the new model had successfully completed high-speed taxi tests on the 7th of February 2010. On the 8th of February 2010, after a 2.5-hour weather delay, the 747-8 freighter made its maiden flight, taking off from Payne Field, Washington at 12:39 PST, and landed at 4:18 p.m. PST. Boeing estimated that more than 1,600 flight hours would be needed in order to certify the 747-8. The second test flight in late February, a ferry flight to Moses Lake, Washington, tested new navigation equipment. Further flight testing was to take place in Moses Lake, conducting initial airworthiness and flutter tests, before moving to Palmdale, California, for the majority of flight tests so as to not interfere with 787 flight tests based out of Boeing Field in Seattle. By the 11th of March 2010, the 747-8F had flown 13 flights covering a total of 33 hours. On the 15th of March 2010, the second 747-8F first flew from Payne Field to Boeing Field, where it was briefly based before moving to Palmdale to continue flight testing with the first 8F. On the 17th of March, the third 8F made its first flight and joined the test program. During the flight tests, Boeing discovered a buffet problem with the aircraft, involving turbulence coming off the landing gear doors interfering with the inboard flaps. Boeing undertook an evaluation of the issue, which included devoting the third test aircraft to investigating the problem. The issue was resolved by a design change to the outboard main landing gear doors. In early April 2010, Boeing identified a possible defect in one of the upper longerons, a main component of the fuselage. According to Boeing, the parts, manufactured by subcontractor Vout Aircraft Industries, were, under certain loads, susceptible to cracking. Boeing said that the issue would not affect flight testing, but other sources stated that the problem could impact the operating envelope of the aircraft until it was fully repaired. Two other issues found during testing were oscillation in the inboard aileron and a structural flutter, which had not been resolved as of 2010. Combined, these problems slowed flight testing and used up almost all the margin in Boeing's development schedule. On the 19th of April, 2010, the second flight test aircraft was moved from Moses Lake to Palmdale to conduct tests on the aircraft's engines in preparation for obtaining a type certification for the aircraft. The remaining aircraft in the test fleet were scheduled to move to Palmdale during May. It was reported on the 3rd of June, 2010, that an engine on the second 747-8F was struck by a tug during a ground move. The engine cowling was damaged, but there was no damage to the engine itself. After repairs, the aircraft moved into fuel efficiency testing. It was announced on the 14th of June, 2010, that the 747-8 had completed the initial phase of flightworthiness testing and that the Federal Aviation Administration had given Boeing an expanded type inspection authorization for the aircraft. By the end of June 2010, the three 747-8Fs that composed the flight test program had flown a total of over 500 hours and had completed hot weather testing in Arizona. In June 2010, Boeing determined that a fourth 8F aircraft was needed to help complete flight testing. It was decided to use the second production aircraft, RC-503, to conduct the non-instrument or minimally instrument tests, such as HERF and water spray certifications. The aircraft, painted in delivery customer Cargolex's new livery, first flew on the 23rd of July 2010. On the 21st of August 2010, a 747-8F proved the variant's capability by taking off from the runway at Victorville, California, weighing 1,005,000 pounds, 455,860 kilograms. Its design maximum takeoff weight, is 975,000 pounds, 442,253 kilograms. The fifth 747-8F joined the flight test effort with its first flight on the 3rd of February 2011. On the 30th of September 2010, Boeing announced a further postponement, with the delivery of the first freighter to Cargolex planned for mid-2011. The 747-8 passenger version took to the skies over Everett, Washington, for the first time on the 20th of March 2011. The second 747-8 flew on the 26th of April 2011. Three 747-8 intercontinentals had taken part in flight testing by December 2011. The 747-8F received its amended type certificate jointly from the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, and European Aviation Safety Agency, EASA, on the 19th of August 2011. Freighter deliveries were to begin on the 19th of September 2011. Then, on the 17th of September 2011, Cargolex announced that it would not accept the first two 747-8Fs scheduled for delivery on September the 19th and 21st. 2011, due to unresolved contractual issues between Boeing and Cargolux with the aircraft. It entered service in October 2011. On the 25th of October 2011, a 747-8 flew to Grantley Adams International Airport in Barbados to begin flight testing in the tropical climate of the Caribbean, to determine its effects on the aircraft. One Test 8I was used for an evaluation by Lufthansa in early December 2011 before first delivery in early 2012. On the 14th of December 2011, the 747-8I received its type certificate from the FAA. The aircraft noise from the 747-8 has earned it a quota count of 2 for takeoff and 1 for landing at London's 3 major airports, a significant improvement over the 747-400. In February 2015, the Boeing 747-8 Intercontinental was given 330-minute ETOPS approval, the first time that ETOPS 330 approval was given to a 4-engined aircraft. Into service and further development, edit. On the 21st of April, 2010, Boeing Chief Executive Officer Jim McNerney announced that the company would be accelerating the production of both the Boeing 747 and 777 to support increasing customer demand. Boeing handed over the first 747-8F to Cargolux in Everett, Washington, on the 12th of October, 2011. The first 747-8 Intercontinental was delivered to Lufthansa on the 5th of May, 2012, which began operating the version on flights from Frankfurt to Washington, D.C., on the 1st of June, 2012. In 2014, Boeing embarked on an improvement program for the 747-8 named Project OZIP, with the goal of improved range and lower fuel burn. With all improvements implemented, the resulting aircraft would have a maximum takeoff weight of greater than 1 million pound, 450 t. The company slowly introduced aspects of OZIP over time. An engine performance improvement package resulted in a 2% lower fuel burn. Boeing also improved the tail fuel tank's function and improved the flight management software. Aircraft produced beginning in 2014 weigh 9,000 pound, 4.1 t, less than the first 747-8 coming off the production line and burn 3.5% less fuel. Other improvements include revised fairings next to the tail and wing-to-body fairings. The chevrons on the trailing edge of the GX2B nacelle were made thinner. Boeing hoped that these improvements, which benefit both the passenger and freighter version, would help improve sales. Boeing has since updated the incremental improvements planned for the 747-8, which include increasing the maximum takeoff weight to 472 t, 1,041,000 pound. Strengthening the main landing gear and increasing the aircraft's full payload range to 8,200 mi, 15,200 kilometers, 9,400 mi. Sales prospects, edit. In early 2014, the Director General of the International Air Transport Association noted that slower economic growth, following the Great Recession of 2008, had led to lower demand for air freighters. The world's air cargo fleet in 2012 was smaller than it was in 2003. However, the proportion of very large freighters in that fleet has increased, and Boeing's dominant position in large, fuel-efficient freighters has offered the company an opportunity to protect its market share and its product line despite the market weakness. Demand has been chiefly for the 747-8F, which accounts for the majority of 747-8 aircraft ordered. The larger capacity of the 747-8 is of particular advantage for the freighter version, because the freighter has no direct competitor, as Airbus competing a 380 freighter version was cancelled during development. Airlines including Emirates and British Airways considered ordering the passenger version, but opted to purchase the Airbus A380 instead. In 2013, Arik Air converted its order for 2747-8s to 2777-300s. At the 2013 Paris Air Show, Korean Air agreed to order 5 747-8 passenger versions, in addition to 5 ordered in 2009. Korean Air and Boeing finalized the new